Welcome to another beautiful day on planet Earth. And it is a win day for me because I did solve one technical issue. So we are on fire. Normally they just fly at me and I have to like call somebody and be like, I don't know what to do. But it's another day of dose of Did You Know, where intriguing, unique, inspiring individuals come to talk love and life and how it has brought them all the way to where they are today. And with me, all the way from Canada, which is not that far from me, but all the way from Canada, is Lorraine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Danny?
I am fantastic. So before we get digging in and going, tell the world a little bit about who you are.
Okay, so I am an author. I am a blogger, an entrepreneur, a single mom, and former prostitute, rape victim, or actually survivor. I don't like to use the word victim. So survivor. And with my business, what I do is I help other people become authors. So take this conversation wherever you want to go.
I love, one of the things I love about you is that you're just like so soft and spoken and you're this and that. And I was a former prostitute. It just like rolls off your tongue. Like,
I've
had cheesecake for dinner.
I know, like I like to shock people right away.
There are no secrets here, but I gotta I've got to talk about where you came from, because talk about having a part of your life that you can get stuck and victimized in and be a victim, right? You have a choice, but you made a choice not to kind of go down a path. I mean, yeah, you went down a path for a while, but you pulled your bootstraps up and you got your ass in gear, basically.
Yeah, it took a long time though. Yeah. And I think that, the struggle for so many people is that they know where they want to be in life, but they don't know how to get there. And for me, that was sort of similar in my past because, for years I was depressed and I was suicidal and I was in this place of darkness and unhappiness, and the only emotions I felt like I felt were negative, despair, hopelessness, self-hatred, all of those negative things. And so in order to cope with the different traumas that I endured, starting back like when I was a 14-year-old virgin and I was raped. That's sort of where my story begins at that point, was because up until that point, everything was fine. Life was moving along. I was in school. I was doing well, blah, blah, blah. And then this traumatic event happened and it completely devastated me.
And I think devastation is a very light word. I mean, like, if you could think of, or you know what it is? I don't think it's a light word. I think we use devastation as a light word. Like, I'm devastated. Like, you told, but when you really dig into words, like devastation is something deep. Devastation is what you felt. That is how we should use that word.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like, when like a hurricane will wipe out an entire city. Like, right. That's devastation. And that's exactly how I felt my life was. Like, it was wrecked, like beyond repair. And I felt like I was wrecked beyond repair, that I couldn't be fixed, that I was damaged goods, that no one would ever love me. No one would ever, look at me the same way again. Right. And in order to cope with the devastation and the ensuing depression, I ended up using tactics that were not healthy, that, people generally turn to if they don't know any better. Eating, drinking, using drugs. In my case, I also became promiscuous, sleeping around, looking for love in all the wrong places.
Do you feel like that was a control, like something like you could control all of this, so that's what you did, and it kind of numbed you at the same time? I'm always curious. Like there's always something. We don't do something without getting a feeling of satisfaction, even if that feeling
yeah,
of satisfaction
numbing
not
myself.
what you
That
want.
was the goal. Like
Yeah.
that was totally the goal. Like getting rid of all of these negative feelings and doing whatever I could. Eating, sleeping. Sleeping. Oh, that was my favorite because I didn't have to deal with the reality.
Yeah.
Like like plain reality or the reality of my life or how I was feeling. And it was just absolutely awful. And one thing, it was like I was just in this spiraling pit going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the sleeping around caused more damage to my psyche. And then one day when an opportunity arose, I thought, oh, well, you know what? I'm giving it away for free. I might as well make money at it. And then I just ended up like that, boom, in
Right.
the prostitution.
So simple how it was just like, it wasn't, you didn't seek it out or whatever. It's just like this thing that popped into your path and you were like, okay, yeah, I mean, I might as well, if I'm doing it, get something, physical out of it. Did you ever feel like you don't know why these things keep happening or you don't know what's wrong with you?
Absolutely. Always questioning, why me? Why is this happening?
What is it that makes you not be able to see the reality? Is it because the reality is way too painful, so you just block it? What is your opinion on that?
I think I didn't want to see it in so many cases. I didn't want to acknowledge that I was actually playing an active part in some of those bad decisions. At the time, all I was doing was basically trying to cope the best way I knew how.
Right.
Now, years later, it's easy to look back and say, oh, well, I think this is why I did that. Now I have so much more education and knowledge and awareness that it's easy to say, okay, well, here's what happened and here's what I did or didn't do. And here's how I got out of it. And, I can make it sound like the road was super easy and just paved with gold. But of course, that isn't the way. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen on social media those little, the road to success is not one straight trajectory. It's like here and then a bunch of this stuff and then a little bit and then and so on. And that's exactly, how it applies to me as well.
So I got to know, Russell's out here and it's so true what he's saying. He said, you start to think you're broken with no chance to repair. So like if there's nothing anybody can do, you just keep on existing the way you're existing. But there was something along the way that flipped a switch in you.
Oh, absolutely. And that was having my son at the age of 18. Becoming a single mom and wanting a better life for him. So at that point, I decided, okay, because I had quit school, I had quit high school like several times. After I was raped, I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate. Just like I said, everything fell apart.
Right.
But when I had my son, I decided, okay, I now have a reason for bettering myself and for going back to school and getting educated and doing all the things that I was, quote unquote, supposed to be doing all along.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I did. Like I went back to school. I found a special program for single moms, enrolled in that, and took me approximately 4 years to finish my remaining high school credits. And then I went into the program of my choice at the local university here. So I went there for 5 years and obtained 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Education. And then I subsequently found a job teaching high school math and English. at a high school that was in a little town about probably 4 hours, a 4-hour drive from my city. So of course I had to move.
Yeah.
And, and I just did what I had to do. Like there was no second guessing myself. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, because I wanted to give my son a better life.
Yeah. So you needed, for you had to have something outside of yourself. Do you think if you never had that, you might have never pulled yourself out, like, because the value on yourself was so gone?
Yes.
It took your blessing of your son to pull your.
Yeah. Myself, like, I always felt like I was never enough. Yeah. And, when I was the year after I was raped, I actually tried to commit suicide.
Yeah, I can see that. Like,
that's, like I was just that depressed and spent to the point where I just didn't care about myself anymore. And I think that's really common with a lot of people. Like, they just don't think that they're worth it.
Right.
And so that's the reason why they don't make changes in their lives. Even now, like, a perfect example for me is losing weight. I have never felt like I was enough. Like, I'm going to do this because it's something that's going to be good for me. Like, that wasn't a good enough reason. I'm the type of person, I've always needed that external stimulation. And so, yes, I needed my son in order to get me back on track with my life. I need other people. I need to have a reason. Like, I want to do this because I have so-and-so in my life, or because of, like, it's never like, oh, I just love myself so much, I'm going to do this for myself, because that's not how I see myself. Like, I, even to this day, I don't, and it's sad. It's actually really sad, because is
it something that, like, you can recognize that, there's this thing that we recognize what it is within us, right? The things that are not so good, or or how we cope with things, or how we feel about ourselves, or how we use what the gifts we have. And sometimes we use the gifts we have for bad and not for good. Is it fair to say that, yeah, you recognize this, but there are days that, yes, you work on it, and there are days that you're like, I don't want to work on it myself today. I just want to be in this moment. It's exhausting. I'm XYZ old and I'm tired of it. I mean, because we're human. Like, every day there are times I do my devotional in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, I just read all of that and do not even remember what I read. Like, I'm totally disconnected from, self-evolving at this moment.
Oh, totally. Like, it's funny how our brains tend to work when we have a low self-image or have low self-esteem. We always think that we're never good enough, despite evidence to the contrary. Despite our friends encouraging us and cheering us on and admiring us and, calling us inspirations and all these other really wonderful things, there's still something inside of our heads that just, it's like a block that just can't get switched. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's actually even more to the fact that you block out the things that you've done. You don't even recognize it. It's not even what people are saying. It's the actual facts, because people's opinions are people's opinions. Some people might think you suck and some people might think you're great. But the actual acts that you have achieved in your life, like putting yourself through school, going to college, getting a good job, being, basically a teacher is somebody people look up to, and, in a good way. I'm assuming you're a good teacher, because I think you're a good person. But again, an opinion. But we forget those actual facts of our life. I had to start writing down my blessings, because sometimes I will forget what it is, what my reality is. I will listen to external people and I'll forget what my personal reality is.
Yes. I actually have a list shift that I look at as well. You know, when I get down and depressed, it's like, wait a minute, let's start focusing on the positive things.
Yeah.
You know, I successfully raised another human being, and he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do drugs, he eats healthy, he works out, he's got a job, he's doing well. Like, that right there is an accomplishment.
Yep.
You know, I went back to school, I finished, I got like scholarships and awards and, you know, all these other things. And, you know, and I don't really like to talk about them, but yeah, they're there. And, you know, and then I wrote a book and I learned how to get it, you know, self-published, how to actually put it up on Amazon and go through all of the steps of the self-publishing process to share it with the world and help so many people. Which I actually wrote that book, my book, From Nope to Hope, in response to a blog post that I wrote about my suicide attempt. So I basically shared how I was feeling, what I was going through, you know, all the different times that I felt suicidal, and then the different things that I learned through counseling and through a lot of self-help work that I've done, to share these tips and strategies and techniques with other people so that they don't have to feel that same way.
What do you think? I got to ask this question too, stop you for a second, is what made you take that extra step? It's fascinating to me when people take the step. Not only did you, like, you're working through healing yourself. Healing's a constant, right? We have to constantly do it till the day that we die. But you took a moment of your life, a very painful moment of your life, and shared it so other people could, I don't know, learn from it or just help somebody else or whatever that they were going to get from it. What brought you to that step? Fascinates me that people take that extra action step outside of themselves, but it's so vulnerable.
Yeah, it was just my willingness to help others not feel the same way that I had felt for years. Like, I wouldn't wish those feelings on anyone. I just wanted people to, you know, feel better, feel happier, learn some of the things that I learned that I wish I would have learned years and years and years earlier. You know, some things I thought were even like kept secret from me. I mean, obviously they weren't. I think just the people that I had contact with just didn't know about these different techniques. Right. Positive affirmations. Positive affirmations now are talked about a lot. And, you know, 20 years ago, they weren't. It was like, it was this big secret that people were keeping to themselves. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know what? I've tried these now and these really work. And these make me feel a whole lot better. Yeah. These have helped me to change my thinking, change my thoughts, change my mindset, and basically give me a whole new outlook on life. So why wouldn't I want to share all this happiness with other people? You know, like I need to do this. So
yeah, and I think sharing the darkness is actually just as important, because then people will be like, oh crap, I'm not the only one thinking this. I'm not the only one. And if she's thinking the exact same thing that I'm thinking and she's not anymore, then that gives me hope. Even when you don't have that strength within you, you borrow someone else's strength, even if it's a stranger's.
Yeah. And, you know, talking about all the bad stuff is just, I felt it was almost like my duty. Like, I mean, I was the oldest of 3 children. I was always put in the position where, oh, you're older, you should know better. You have to be a role model to others. And I think just that idea of being a role model to others was drilled into me for so many years growing up, that I just naturally now have a feeling like, okay, it's my duty. Like, I feel like this is something I have to do. And I just don't question it. It's almost like, in a sense, it's almost like a calling. Like, this is just, okay, this is what I have to do, and nothing's going to stop me from doing it. Like, I have to do this. And so my natural tendency to want to help others ties in with, you know, the whole teaching aspect. And, you know, I want to become a teacher. I want to help others. I want to teach others. I want to encourage others and just, you know, help them in any way possible with whatever it is that they're struggling with.
Yeah.
So
Which has
I think
brought
there's
you to
a
where
lot
you
of
are right
different
now.
components that tie together.
Yeah. It's all of that like darkness. And that's what Russell said. Sometimes you have to go through the darkness to get to the light. But it is all that darkness was like bundling up. And now you can share your love and what's inside with others and continually to share your love within yourself too, because we have to like do a little bit of this before we can do a lot of that out there. So yeah, crazy story, crazy woman that can bring herself out of it. Such an inspiring, just, and now successful entrepreneur. Like you still are taking those, basically those rough and tough skills and applying it to the hard aspects of life, but in a positive way, not in an unhealthy way, into something
Oh
positive.
yeah, for sure. I mean, we're all works in progress. We always will be. Like you said, healing, it's not something that's like you just do once and it's done. It's
God, I wish it was.
process. And the more I find, the more that I talk about things and the more that I share things with others, the easier it gets. That's why when I say, oh yeah, so I used to be a prostitute, and it just rolls off my tongue like, oh, I just had toast for breakfast, or, like so nonchalantly, like, but yeah. And it's gotten to that point where, it's just that easy to talk about now because I've been doing it for so long.
Sure. That is one of like a sure sign of healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the shame's gone. And when the shame and the guilt and regrets are gone, that is a time when like you're in a place of healing. And then that healing just builds and builds and builds and builds, which is really cool. It's really cool to be able to see that progress in such a way.
It is. And, it's finally come to the point where I now have answers to those questions that I had years and years ago, that why me? Why is this happening? The answer is because I'm helping other people, because I need to be that role model for other people. I need to be that pillar of strength and someone who actually demonstrates, that level of, courageousness or bravery or whatever you want to call it, like to open up about what happened and be able to talk about it, so that, exposing myself as being vulnerable and showing what I went through to overcome everything, and letting people know that there is hope for them too. Like, regardless of whatever kind of situation they're in, you can still they can still overcome it. They can take steps. They can, start doing something little every single day, and, and have that hope that things are going to get better, because they most assuredly will.
Yeah.
As long as you take steps towards making something better, they're going to get better.
Yeah. It's very simple when we talk about it. It's little steps that make the big thing. And wow, this show has come to an end very fast, because there's so many things I want to talk about. But I love that. I love that. There's where can people find your book? Because
From Nope to Hope is on Amazon.
Okay. Note to Hope. Right?
From Nope.
From Nope to,
yeah, it rhymes. Yeah. So From Nope to Hope.
Yeah. Got it now. I was like, oh, that's an interesting name. I wonder what that came from. But now that I know what the real name is, it makes so much more sense. So much more sense. But before I let you go, I ask that you answer this one question with the first thing that pops to your mind. No need to explain it. Just let it out. In this moment right now, what does love mean to you?
Love means enjoying every single moment that you have in your life. Because if you don't love this moment, like, this moment is all we have. Each moment, and it passes. And so now it's this moment, and now it's this moment. And when you take a look at your life and you think, oh, I just want to be happy. Well, when? Like, is it contingent on something? Like, I used to think, oh, well, I'm going to be happy if I weigh X amount of pounds, or I'm going to be happy if I have a relationship, or I'm going to be happy if I have, money, or whatever it is. We always put those contingencies on things, and those conditions, throw them away, get rid of them. Be happy now, be grateful for what you have now, take a look at what you have in your life and just be happy for it. And if there's something that you're not happy with, if you don't like it, change it. That's simple. If you don't like it, change it. Take a step, change it.
Yeah.
So that making your now, so that your now, which is what all we have is our now, is going to be better for you.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and just being an inspiration to yourself, first of all, so that you could now be an inspiration to so many other people out there. I am going to be sending this to a couple individuals that I feel that I can't say what you said, but hear what you have said. So from myself, thank you so much for today. And to everybody else that is out there, remember, as always, love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Until next time. Bye-bye.
That's right. Thanks, Danny.
You're welcome.